In a world where there's only war, the only thing a group of cyborgs would do upon reaching a planet full of undead robots is obviously destroy as many of them as humanly possible. Or at least, that's what Warhammer 40k Mechanicus would have us believe. There's certainly plenty of combat, and a few bugs, in this excellent tactical strategy game. The core mechanics of Mechanicus will be instantly recognizable to anyone who's played a game in the XCOM series. Move a cohort of units around a tile-based map full of enemies, shoot them, and then usually find some cover to hide behind at the end of each unit's turn. There's a few notable differences. Cover is either absent or absolute, cannot be destroyed, and there's no accuracy rolls. Your units don't have access to an Overwatch ability, though one enemy does, and much of what you can do on a given turn is dictated by how many cognition points you have. These points are spread around the map, dropped by enemies when they die, and can be gathered through a number of abilities. Outside of combat, you're exploring tombs of the mysterious Necron race. These tombs primarily serve as random event generators, where you can gain or lose cognition points, have your units healed or damaged, find some money lying around, or accidentally wake up the tombs more. This last bit is an interesting twist on the ticking clock present in many XCOM-like games. Every new chamber you enter, and every turn in battle, raises the current tomb's awakening level. While a few things can cause this level to be reduced, for the most part it just goes up. Every time the level passes a new benchmark, a new negative effect is applied to the tomb, such as enemies resurrecting more quickly. Once a tomb is complete, the total number of benchmarks passed is added to the global awakening meter, and there is nothing that reduces that. If you reach 100% on this meter, the final boss must be fought immediately. Between missions, you get to upgrade each of your main units, tech priests, in a variety of skill trees, as well as swap out their equipment. The leveling XP is just the money you collect, so there's a very obvious connection between finding it and your ability to enhance the cohort. Equipment, and the more disposable troop unit types you can summon during battle, are generally unlocked via mission rewards. There's a lot of room for customization here, though I quickly found that there were a few must-have skills and weapons, to the extent that most of the rest sat unused. It didn't take long to figure out what the optimal combination of skills and equipment was for my cohort, and once that was accomplished, the game on default difficulty settings quickly became fairly trivial in terms of actual risk of failure. Even before that, the difficulty curve was so shallow that I was never at real risk of having even one of my main units killed, though a few of the more disposable ones were lost. Even so, combat remained remarkably entertaining throughout, as my goal changed from survival to winning in as few turns and with as little damage as possible. If I had turned the difficulty up, it may become even more compelling in most tombs. Bosses, however, are a different story. Except for the first one, they're all pathetically easy to fight, and the difficulty with the first one may have been due to not yet having an optimized cohort. Each of the others was defeated in the very first turn possible, with the second to last being defeated by the very first unit. Since you're never required to fight one, you can always wait until your units are more than ready as well. Apart from playing non-optimally on purpose, it's difficult to see where increased settings would make these fights much better. The lack of challenge, as well as the relative uniformity of an optimal tech priest loadout, makes this a game that I likely won't pick up again for a while. The only element that would make me want to play it again is completing any missions that were skipped due to the global awakening meter. Careful picking of the random events through the use of a difficulty setting that hints at the results, or just save reload cycles, along with incomplete tomb exploration, means that I was able to do every mission with the meter at 83%. I could see how not doing that would result in having to make a few tough choices, that I might want to change on a future playthrough though. Unfortunately, those missions are so generic that there really isn't a lot of impetus to do so. One of the things I really struggled with throughout my time in Mechanicus was trying to figure out what the heck we were doing there in the first place. There are a number of characters giving you missions that you can complete in any order, and each of them have motivations, but all seem very shallow. One wants to research everything, one wants to destroy everything, etc. To make matters worse, only one plotline has any sort of fulfilling resolution by the end of the game. Suffice it to say that the story is threadbare at best. The good news is, there's basically nothing to worry about from a moral perspective apart from the strange religion present in the Imperium in the Warhammer 40k setting. While there's plenty of violence, it's all between your group of cyborgs against a race of robots that want nothing more than to destroy all life in the universe. The random event choices play into the lore of both groups, which are never offered a choice that seems truly immoral. Along with its core gameplay, the look, feel, and sound of Mechanicus is easily its biggest strength. From playing other Warhammer 40k games, all the units, weapons, and props just look right. It's certainly stylized and not photorealistic by any means, but for a setting largely based on a tabletop wargame, it looks exactly like it should. It's also very cool that every piece of equipment you put onto a character appears on that character's model. When doing my initial research into Mechanicus, everything I saw mentioned how great the music and sounds were. While I don't think I'll be buying the soundtrack for casual listening, it does absolutely fit the setting and blend seamlessly into the game, which in many ways is one of the great compliments I could give to a soundtrack, as it plays perfectly into the atmosphere and never seems out of place. The other sound effects are equally on point, from weapons firing to the teleportation sound when you finally fully kill one of the Necrons. The one strange thing about the audio is that all of the mission givers speak in some sort of tone-based language, like the droids in Star Wars, while the Necron enemies speak actual English. Everything is subtitled so it didn't impact gameplay, but seemed a little backwards.
I wake with the turning of aeons.
Warhammer 40k Mechanicus gets a perfect 5 out of 5 for morality. I really wanted to give it a 4 out of 5 for quality due to the excellent, if fairly easy, gameplay. But the frequent freezing forces me to give it a 3 out of 5. If you can get it on a good sale, it's definitely worth a shot.